So yeah, I work in designing CRM and
Okay. All right, so I'm just starting from very basics. I think Beva have already have some background about Dynamics 365, but in this session, I'm just going to discuss about the fundamentals. All right, so the rest of the guys don't have much experience in the Dynamics. Maybe if you are the college students and few are working in some other technologies, maybe C# or .NET, and they might have looking for a change in some other technologies like in the dynamic crm, so they just wanted to have a quick background that what is dynamic crm and the power platform is. All right, so let me quickly share my screen and we'll start going through all the fundamental concept. Can anyone please confirm that they can see my screen?
Yes, yes, yes.
I can see. Yes, I can
Oh,
see.
thank you. Okay, so as I told you, like the today training session is on fundamentals of Dynamics 365 and the Power Platform. Okay, so first, before starting the session, I just wanted to give a quick background about myself, a quick brief introduction about myself. So after this session, if you want to get in touch with me through a very social media channel, or if you want to have some further trainings or training on some specific topics. Okay, so maybe related to the codings, related to the configurations, or some other guidance related to the dynamic 360 or power platform, you can get in touch with me. Okay, so as I told you, my name is Arpish Srivastav, and I'm a Microsoft certified trainer, and I'm a dynamic 365 and power platform architect working in Capgemini India. I'm the ambassador of our largest community, Power Community. So if you follow this community, then almost every Saturday we organize a lot of sessions that is totally free. So it's a free boot camp we organize almost every Saturday, related to the various topics. Okay, so maybe related to the CRM, Dynamics 365, and related to Azure and DevOps. So in this portal, we actually updates a lot of information about the recent the events and the upcoming events. So you just simply Google it, the Power Community, and can follow on the YouTube or maybe or in their website, so that in the upcoming sessions you can simply get the recordings of the sessions. You can get some useful information from the Microsoft MVP all over the world. I'm a blogger who is writing since 2014. Okay, and I've organized couple of events as well. And I'm a speaker and I'm a trainer as well. So I have delivered a lot of sessions on the Dynamics and the Power Platform. So if you want to watch the recording of the fundamentals of my previous, uh, the sessions and the recording, just have a look my YouTube channel. You can post the questions through my blog as well. So you can just find my blogs, my YouTube channel by just simply typing on the Google Arpit Dynamics CRM blog. Okay, so you get all the information, and after this session, you can get in touch with me if you want to have some further information. I've been awarded with top 100 CRM blogs, and in the 2020, I've been awarded with the Power Community Ambassador as well by delivering a lot of sessions and getting the user feedback on my sessions. So based on that, I've been awarded with this Power Community Ambassador award. And these are my social media channels. You can just scan this QR code and you will land it on my social media channels. It's my personal blog, it's my LinkedIn. You can get in touch with me. You can watch the recording on the YouTube, the Twitter, and on the Instagram as well. So I usually update a lot of information on my social media channel related to the dynamics, related to the the Power Platform. Okay, these are my some Microsoft recent certification. Okay, uh, I've been working on this certification exam, and I've qualified these fundamentals, Power Platform developers, architect, Power Platform functional consultant, the app maker. So if you are new in the dynamic CRM, and if you want to be Microsoft certified, then the certification that is beneficial for you is the Power Platform fundamentals. So in my last session, I have organized 2 to 3 hours of session on Power Platform fundamentals. So if you want to watch the recording of it, just go to my YouTube channel, and I have uploaded the recording of my last session as well. So in that session also I have given the fundamentals of Dynamics 365 and Power Platform, but that session was mainly focused on the study guide of Power Platform fundamentals. So after attending the sessions, a lot of folks has cleared the Power Platform fundamental certification. So this is the basic one. So if you have the basic knowledge of Dynamics 365 on the Power Platform, then you can just go and register for this exam, and you will be the Microsoft certified. All right. Now the last thing is, there are few events and the session that I recently organized, and I have spoken in these events. So if you want to just watch the recording of the session, so there are a lot of useful sessions are there related to the Microsoft Teams Power Platform, related to the if you are new in the Dynamics 365 and the Power Platform, these topics might not be helpful for you, but after this session you will get the fundamental knowledge of Dynamics and the fundamental of Power Platform, and after that you can simply watch these recordings on my YouTube channel as well. So you can find my YouTube channel by name Arpit Dynamics, and simply watch the recording. And in the future also, I'm going to upload a lot of interesting stuff related to the Power Platform and the Dynamics 365 for the beginners and for the advanced folks as well, who has a very good knowledge of Dynamics CRM. Okay, so now we discuss about the today's agenda. So what we're gonna discuss in the next 1.5 hours, we're gonna discuss about what is CRM and Dynamics 365 and the architecture of the Dynamics 365. Okay, we will discuss about the Power Platform and what are the core components of Power Platform. There are some real-time examples through which you can easily relate that what is the significance of using Dynamics 365 and the Power Platform. The question is, how do I start working Dynamics 365? Because once I have the basic knowledge of all these components and the feature, then it's a basic question that how do I start working Dynamics 365? We'll share some study materials and useful references, and then I'll be available for your questions. So if you have any questions, you can just ask me. What is CRM actually? So I think a few of might have already heard about this term CRM, because in the daily life we are hearing this term a lot. If we are the IT folks, or if you are the business people, maybe if you are college students, we often use this term, the customers or the relationship management, right? CRM. So in the CRM, the C stand for the customer. Okay, in this whole world, everyone is the customer. Okay, because we are we are dealing with a lot of folks, and we are dealing with a lot of customers day by day, because if we go to the market, if we have to purchase something, we are the customer. So in this whole world, everyone is the customer. Okay, if we talk about the small size business, if we talk about the middle sized business, or if we talk about the large side businesses. Okay, so in the every context, if we talk about from small to large enterprises, everyone is dealing with the customer. A small size business, whether they are running very small shops, they are also customer, because they are selling something, they are providing service to something, they are doing marketing of something, so they are also part of a customer. Middle sized business is also part of the customer, and the large size business, the large enterprises. So it's not like that customer only related to the large enterprises or the large organization. Customers could be of a small size business, middle size business, and the large size business as well. Okay, the R stand for relationship. Okay, so if the customer is there, then the relationship is very much important. So let's say I'm running a shop, and I'm running a shop, and I'm selling some products in my shop, right? So it is possible that there are a lot of customer will come to my shop and will purchase something. So if I'm not having proper relationship with this customer, then obviously my business will not grow. The next time that particular customer will not come to my shop to purchase something, right? So relationship is very important to deal with your customer, to maintain the to increase the profit or the success of your your organization, right? So relationship matters actually. If you are having a good relation with your customer, definitely your business will grow. all right, or will achieve success. Or if you are not if your customer is not happy with your behavior, if your customer is not happy with the relationship that the product you are selling to the customer, the service you are providing to the customer, then definitely your business will not grow. So definitely the relationship is directly or indirectly related to the growth of the business or the success of the business. So relationship matters. Now the M stands for the management. All right. So what is the meaning of management? Management means the process to manage the customer relationship, right? So M is basically the process to handle this two terminology, customer and the relationship. All right. So the process to handle this customer relationship is called customer relationship management. Now what is the meaning of management? How we can manage the customer relationship? So customer relationship management is basically there are basically three high level component which actually made this CRM. Okay, so I'm talking about that I'm running a shop and I'm selling some product to the market, right? So I'm actually dealing with these three things: sales, marketing, and the service. Okay, so from a small business to a very large enterprises, everyone is dealing with these three terminologies: sales, marketing, and the service. All right, so if I'm running a shop and if I have to sell some product, so first of all I have to do the marketing of my product. All right, without marketing of my product, without doing the advertisement of my project of my product, I cannot sell my product, because there are a lot of competitors available in the market. So you have seen, if there is any new product launch in the market, there are a lot of marketing happens before it comes to the market, right? There are a lot of ways to do the marketing. Today we have the digital marketing available. The company sends the emails, SMS, WhatsApp messages, and the LinkedIn's and the Facebook, Instagram. So there are a lot of social media channels available, and there are various channels are also available: telephones, calls, SMS. So now, so all the organization actually use the marketing to to do the campaigning of their project, or of their products, right? Once the marketing is done, the second part is the sales process, right? So sales is basically the process where a companies or the organization sell their particular product. So sales, we know, but sales is not only about selling the product. Sales is a complete cycle, right? First you need to identify the customer by doing the marketing. Once you do the marketing, you get some leads, you get some prospect customers. So they might be interesting, they might be interested to buy a product, they might not be interested to buy a product, right? So they are called leads in the terms of CRM, right? Leads, or we can set the prospect customer. So once you get the leads that these are the prospect customer, they might have interest to buy your product, then you convert them into the opportunity. You interact with them, you have a conversation with them, you meet with them, and just understand the requirement of the customer, and you convert the lead into opportunity. Sometimes it happens that you're not able to convert that lead into opportunity, then in that case we call it as a lead disqualified. Okay, so there are two things. The sales process start with the leads. Now lead has two process: qualification and the disqualification. Qualification means customer is interested to buy your product. Disqualification means customer shown the interest, but he's not interested to buy your product, right? So this is the two things: qualification and disqualification. Once your lead gets qualified, means your customer is interested to buy the product, then in that case we convert the lead into opportunities. All right, after the opportunity, you send the quotation to the customer request for the order, and you close the sales cycle. So there is a complete sales cycle comes under this. So lead, opportunities, quotations, right? The discounts, the offer, the products that you are selling, and the order of the customers, and then closing the cycles. And whatever the communication is being happened during this, all the sales processes comes under the sales cycle. Okay, and the last thing, once you sell the product, then the last thing comes is the service. This is the most important thing. Service means you have to provide the service to the customer. So it's not like that you sell the particular product to the customer and your job is done. It's not like that. You have to provide the service as well. The customer might have some queries after purchasing the product. So customer might have some complaints about the product, or customer might have some kind of escalations as well. So product is not working properly, or maybe they might have some feedback as well related to you. So that all the process comes into the service. All right, so CRM is basically made up of three things: sales, marketing, and service. And the process to manage all these three components, the sales, marketing, and service, is called CRM. Now, how do we manage or handle this complete sales, marketing, the service? So definitely we cannot do it manually. We need to have some kind of software. We need to have some kind of tool available in the market so that we can effectively manage the CRM process, right? So there are a lot of products available in the market. There are Salesforce, SAP, and the Zoho CRM, Oracle, Siebel. So there are a lot of companies has made their own CRM product in the market so that you can deal with this kind of situations or the process. Similar like this, Microsoft also introduced their own product in the market that we call it as Microsoft Dynamics CRM. So Microsoft Dynamics CRM is the product that is launched by the Microsoft, which actually used to handle this sales process, marketing process, and the service process. So that means it's a product which actually used to handle the customer relationship management. Now, what is Microsoft Dynamics? So if you see in this the name of the product and the Microsoft Dynamics CRM, the product name is Microsoft Dynamics CRM. Why they call it the Microsoft Dynamics CRM as a dynamic CRM? Because Microsoft Dynamics is a product which actually integrated the two different products, the ERP and the CRM. All right. So Microsoft Dynamics is basically consist of two things, the ERP and the CRM. So both the two products are combined into a single umbrella. It's a Microsoft Dynamics. Now, why we call it as a Dynamics? So Dynamics, as we know in the dictionary meaning, like it's not static. We can change it as per our need. We can it's provide us the scalability. So Microsoft Dynamics CRM is a product which is scalable, right? So it's not like that you purchase a product to use in your company and you have to use the out-of-box features only. So it's a dynamic product. You can customize as per your need. All right. So basically what you done with the Microsoft, you actually create a product. You actually purchase this product from the Microsoft and design the software for a company. All right. But customer might have some different requirements related to that they don't want to use this kind of UI of the product. They want to brand the product. So these kind of things may come from the customer side. So for this kind of things you can customize these product as well. And the second thing is that if you are a IT professional or if you are a business person, on the daily to daily basis you are dealing with the Microsoft products on the daily basis. You are using Internet Explorer, you are using LinkedIn, you are using PowerPoint, Microsoft Excel, Word documents, Bing Map search, right? So these are the products of the Microsoft only. And every business person almost spend 70 to 80% on their time on the Microsoft products. So it's very easy to understand. It's very easy to integrate with the rest of the Microsoft products. So that's why we call it as a Microsoft Dynamics. We don't need to put some additional integration logic or some kind of additional code in order to integrate this product with some other Microsoft products. So there is out-of-box integration available with the rest of the Microsoft products in the market. So that's why we call it as a Microsoft Dynamics. So it's a dynamic product. Now it actually comes with the two products, Microsoft Dynamics ERP and the Microsoft Dynamics CRM. Now ERP, what is the difference between ERP and the CRM? So those who are very new to this technology, the ERP means to handle the internal process of your organization, or CRM means to handle the external process of your organization, because customer is not part of internal organization, they are the part of external organization. So if I talk about the example of Amazon, okay, so Amazon is basically a website. So let's understand what is the difference between ERP and CRM for Amazon website. Okay, so Amazon is a company and there are a lot of employees are working in the Amazon company, right? So on the daily basis there are a lot of resources are resigning, there are a lot of resources are joining. They have some kind of budget to improve the website performance as well. They might have some kind of budget to improve some to introduce some new products in the Amazon website. So this is the planning part, right? So this can be done internally in the organization. This cannot be part of externally. Customer cannot do that, right? So whatever happen inside the company, whatever happen internally to the organization, like resource planning, that how many new resource we have to hire, how many resources we have to use for a particular component. So these kind of things, right? Second thing, the financial management, right? if we have to run the organization, we have to manage the budget as well, we have to manage the financial process as well. So the financial things, the resource planning, so these kind of things comes under the ERP process. Okay, and CRM means to handle your customers. So that I already told you, in any organization there are some internal users as well and there are some external users as well. So the external users is basically the customers and the internal users are basically the employees of the organization. So to handle the employees or to handle the financially condition of the organization, we actually use the Microsoft Dynamics ERP. And for the customer relationship related thing, we use the Microsoft Dynamics CRM. So Microsoft Dynamics is the umbrella which comes with these two major products, ERP and the CRM. But nowadays, we are not using this Microsoft Dynamics CRM. We are calling this product as a Dynamics 365. Now, a lot of folks, are using Dynamics 365. We are not calling this product as a Microsoft Dynamics CRM now. So what is Dynamics 365 now? So Dynamics 365 is nothing. Microsoft has now combined or merged two products into single umbrella, the ERP plus Microsoft Dynamics CRM, and now we are calling as a Dynamics 365. So in the earlier version of Dynamics 365, the ERP and the Microsoft Dynamics CRM both were two different products. All right, they were not part of a single umbrella, but Microsoft combined these two products into a single product, and now we calling as a Dynamics 365. So this is the basic definition of Dynamics 365. So how the Dynamics 365 actually looks like now? So we have actually merged the ERP plus CRM. So you can see here in the Microsoft Dynamics 365, we have the sales, we have the customer service. So that I was talking about in the earlier slide, that Dynamics CRM is basically about the sales, customer service, and the marketing. But now you can see how broad this picture is. We have some, the finance and operation is basically the part of ERP. I told you, like related to the finance management, the operation related things, this all the things comes under to the ERP. All right, and these are the things like sales. So sales, you have to deal with the customer. Service, you have to deal with the customer. Marketing, you have to deal with the customer. And there are some other products as well, like field service. So if you have to give the service to the customer at the field side, so if you have, so there are a lot of example like Zomato, a delivery guy, or you can say the Swiggy delivery guy. So these are the part of field service because they are giving the service or they are dealing with the customer at the field side. They are not dealing within the organization. So they have to travel at the customer location and they are interacting with the customer. So this is the part of field service. So these kind of all the things comes under the CRM, and the finance and operation comes under the ERP. So now you can see here in the Dynamics 365, everything is involved in that. So now that's why we call it as a Dynamics 365. Now, if you talk about the very high level architecture, so those who are, are from the engineering background, or maybe if they are, they have already worked in the Dynamics CRM, there is a very simple architecture of the CRM. All right. So we as a coder or we as a programmer, we just wanted to know how the system actually, works in the background. Right. So Dynamics 365 is a product. So we know that if we use the product, we don't know how actually it actually works in the background. So the architecture of the Microsoft Dynamics 365 looks like that. So there is a client. Okay, so from the engineering background, we have seen, like if we have to build any application in this world, there are two things comes into the picture: the client and the server. So everything happens between the client and server. Client request to the server and server respond to the client, right? So this happens with every application, whether you are using .NET application or the Java application or any application, the PHP or the any language you are using, regardless of the platform, regardless of any languages. The basic actually feature that happens between any application is the client and the server interactions. All right, the same happen with the Dynamics 365 product as well. So there is a client and there is a middleware called Web API and there is a server. Okay, so what is client? Client is Dynamics 365. Okay, so we are calling Dynamics 365 as a client because everything all kind of transactions like creation, deletion, updation, deletion, or the retrieval. Everything we do it from the client side or from the UI. So we are calling as a client or the Dynamic 365. Now this Dynamic 365 can be accessible through the Outlook. We can access it through the mobile. We can access it through the web, tablet, or nowadays we can access the Dynamic 365 using Microsoft Teams as well. And we can access the Dynamic 365 data using custom application as well. So it's a big advantage of using it. So these are some out of box product. But if you want to create your own application, maybe Java application or the .NET application or the PHP application, and you want to display the data of Dynamic 365 over there, or you want to create your own product and want to display the data of Dynamic 365. So these are the all part of client. Now this client and this is the server. OK, so server is basically the SQL database. So obviously, if you are using any application or any product, we have to have some kind of storage available where we have to store the customer data, right? So I am talking about the customer relationship management. I'm talking about the sales, marketing, and the service. But these all the process, all the features we can only use when we have the option to store the data. Otherwise we cannot use any kind of features if you don't have any option to store the data, right? So we have a SQL Server database available, and we nowadays we are calling with some fancy name like CDS or the Dataverse. Okay, I'll talk to this part later, what is CDS and Dataverse, but this is nothing but the SQL database. So this is client and this is the SQL database. Now you are seeing there is a middleware or there is a bridge between the client and the server. The client and the server cannot directly interact with each other. That usually happens in other applications. So like for example, if you have the SQL server available and if you want to create a .NET application, you can simply write the SQL query in your .NET code or in your Java code and can perform transaction directly in the SQL database. That usually happen, right? But Microsoft doesn't allow to do that. Microsoft says that you cannot directly interact with the server. You have to send the data to Web API. Web API will perform your operation and the server will give the result to the Web API and the Web API will give the result to the client. So this is the process. So how it works? Request will send to the API. API will send the information to server. Server will respond to the API and then API send the response to the server, to the CRM or to the client, right? So this is the way how the background of the dynamic CRM and how the information or the data exchange happens. All right. Now, what is this Web API and what is the significance of it? So this is for from the security point of view, that you cannot directly perform transactions like CRUD operations on the SQL database. You have to deal with the Web API. You cannot directly transact. Now, whether you are using Outlook, mobile, web, tablet, Microsoft Teams, custom application, in every cases, you cannot directly interact with the server. OK, but there are two things here. Dynamics 365 basically comes with two kind of deployment. First is on-premise and second is the online. So in case of online, everything related to the infrastructure like SQL Server database installations, the reporting server installation, and any kind of tools or the software related to the Dynamics 365, Microsoft will take care of it in case of cloud, right? But in case of on-premise, everything you have to install it on your machine only. So for example, if I want to purchase a Dynamics 365, I have two options, on-premise and online. In case of online, everything related to the Dynamics 365, Microsoft will take care of it. You just need to manage this client side only. You don't need to take care about server. You only need to purchase the size of the database, that how much size you need in the database to store the data. That's it. You don't need to care about where it's getting installed, what are the what are the size of that particular server, is there any error in that particular services. So these kind of things Microsoft will take care. So SQL server is down, your server is down, your server is up and running. So these kind of things you don't need to care about it. But if you are using the on-premise version of Dynamics 365, you have to install everything on your own machine and you can directly access the SQL databases as well. Okay, but in that case also you have to deal with the Web API only. So if you have to push or pull any data from the SQL server, you have to pass the information to Web API. But the only difference is that in case of on-premise version, you can just simply open the SQL database and can perform directly query in the SQL like you usually does in the SQL database, but that is not actually allowed. So this is a very high level picture that how the Dynamics 365 architecture works. And this is a very deep dive components architecture of Dynamics 365. Like you can see here, there is a client. Okay, like in my previous picture, I have shown the client. So this is the client. This is the server where your data, your everything, metadata, everything is getting stored. And the middle part is a web service. So nowadays we call it this web service as a web API. So this is the web API. So now you can see here this Outlook, there's a mobile, tablets, the web, there are some integrated applications. So these integrated applications are nothing but the custom application. Okay, so I heard a lot of questions from the colleagues that I want to create my own application. I want to create a .NET application or the Java application or the PHP application, and I want to show the data of Dynamics 365 on my application. Okay, so Dynamics 365 is basically storing the data in SQL. So you have to your integrated application has to query the database, right? So what you can do is Dynamics 365 actually expose the web API that I already told you in my previous slide. So you just need to call that web API, pass the information, what information you required. Web API will pass the information to SQL server, and SQL server will return the data to Web API, and Web API will return the result to the integrated applications. So this is a very high level pictures of the Dynamics as architecture. Now, what are the features of Dynamics 365? What features it actually provides to you? Okay, so there are a lot of features are available, but I have jotted down only few features that is actually important for the developer perspective or for the beginner perspective. All right. The first thing is the tables, attribute, and the relationship. Obviously, Dynamics 365 using the SQL server to store the data. So SQL server is nothing but the database. So it requires the tables, it requires the attribute, it requires the relationship to store the data. So tables, attribute, relationship, you already know. Table is basically to store the data, okay, in the row format. Attributes is basically a kind of fields. So there might be multiple kind of fields like mobile field, email field, date of birth field. So there are different types of fields available in the Dynamics. Relationship, basically there are a lot of types of relationship. If you are aware about the database DBMS structure, so there are three kind of relationships are there. 1:n, 1:n, n:1, and one is n:1. Okay, so 1:n means one record can be related to the multiple records, right? So for example, Microsoft is the account, and Microsoft might have multiple employees working in that. So one account might have related to the multiple contacts. So this is the relation. This is the this is the actually example of 1:n relationship. So there are three kind of relation: 1:n, n:1, and n:1. Forms and views. So like in the .NET application or in the another application, we create the forms and we create the view. So same like in the Dynamics 365, we have the forms. So form is basically nothing but the collection of fields, right? So whatever table we are creating, whatever fields we are creating, the form is basically we actually use to align all the fields in order to fill the informations. Views is nothing but the submitted informations. Whatever information we are filling in the form and saving the data in the database, view will actually show the list of all the records that you have shown in the database. So for example, I have a registration entity, and in the for example, I have a registration table available, and I am creating a registration form. Okay, in the registration form, I will add attributes like first name, last name, and the email address. Once I will hit the submit button by filling all the information, it will be available in the views. So views is nothing but the list of all the submitted information. Dashboard is nothing but the graphical representation of your information. So there are a lot of charts, graphs, and out of box dashboards available. So it's very helpful to show the data in the graphical format. Business rules. So if you are aware with the .NET, there are a lot of kind of validations are there. Email should be in this particular format, mobile number should be in this particular format, and so there are a lot of kind of validation you put on the particular fields or the attributes, right? You have to display the error message based on the particular conditions. So this kind of things, and you have to make the field mandatory. So for example, if I'm selecting others in the particular drop down, a text box should be appear and it should get mandatory. So this kind of validations, hide and show, mandatory logic. So these kind of things happen using business rules. So for this purpose also, you don't need to write any kind of code. It's part of the out-of-box feature of Dynamics. There are one feature called business process flow. Business process flow is nothing but the guided flow. Okay, so for example, I am a Dynamics 365 user. I am using the product. I don't know about anything, how I have to deal with the customer. For example, I have to sell a particular product to the customer, and I am using Dynamics 365 for that. I don't know anything about it, that how I have to deal with the customer, what question I have to ask, what is the next process I have to follow. So business process flow is nothing but the step-by-step process that guide your user, that what step you have to perform in order to deal with your customer. Okay, so it's a guided flow kind of things. It's a next based action. So you, for example, send the email to the customer, now call the customer, now you just need to send the quotation to the customer, now take the signature of the customer. So these kind of things actually comes under the business process flow. Plugins. Now if you are a coder, if you know the codings and all, Dynamics also provide you the capability to write the code as well. Okay, so we have the plugins and we have the workflows available. So plugin and workflow is nothing but the C# code. Okay, so in a single line definition, plugin is basically nothing but the C# code. So if you have to extend the Dynamics 365 platform, so for example, there might be some complex business rules or complex validations where you cannot use the out of box feature. You need to write some kind of code in order to enhance the Dynamics CRM platform. So in that case, you can write the C# code, and this C# code actually run on a particular trigger point. Now what can be the trigger point? The trigger point is nothing but the transactions on which operation it will perform. So the create operations, the delete operation, read operation, and the retrieve operation. So these are the transactions. So on these types of triggers, the plugin will fire. For example, I'm just taking a very simple example. As soon as a context gets created, as soon as a registration form is submitted, a confirmation email should send to the particular customer. Okay, so this can be done using plugins. This can be done using workflow. Means you have to trigger something on a particular logic, right? So for sending an email, you can use the workflows as well. You can use the plugins as well. So it depends on the complexity of the email. All right. So workflow is also part of the coding, but workflow has some other types as well. Okay, workflow is basically the step-by-step process. So for example, if you have a requirement kind of, you need to get the approvals of something, or first you need to send the email, then you need to create a task for the customer. So these kind of things, you have to perform some kind of a step by step. So for that purpose, you use the workflows. Web resources. So if you have a question that I want to write some kind of HTML, I want to write some CSS, JavaScript, or jQuery. So that is also possible inside the Dynamics CRM, and combinedly we call it as a web resource. So that capability is also there. So if you have to customize your page, customize your form using HTML, your own CSS, if you want to write your own JavaScript, so that is also possible. Security is also there. So obviously it's a it's a huge project, a huge product provided by Microsoft. So the security is also very tight of Microsoft. So Microsoft actually provided a different kinds of security. They have provided the security at the table level. They have provided security at the form level. They have provided the security at the field level as well. So for example, in a particular form, you have to store the credit card number or the ATM pin, and you want that ATM pin should be appear to the administrator only. No other employees can see that particular pin. Okay, so you can provide the attribute level security as well. So there are a lot of types of security as there. Integration and data migration. So there might be the possibility that you are not you are using your Dynamics 365 and you have to integrate your Dynamics with some existing applications. Okay, so there might be the case as well. So you have to integrate your application with Java application, with .NET application, or with some other website. Then that thing is also possible in Dynamics. Dynamics expose the web APIs. All right, or Dynamics also use the Azure integrations as well. So there are a lot of capabilities are there through which you can integrate your Dynamics with the external applications. Data migration, there might be some requirement that that you are using Dynamics 365, but you have to import the data from other applications. So for example, I'm a customer. Okay, I'm a customer, and I'm already using .NET application, and I have my own Oracle database where I'm storing all the customers. Right now, after 2 years, I'm actually planning to purchase a Dynamics 365, and I just want that whatever data is available in the Oracle, I just want to migrate in the Dynamics 365 SQL database. So how it can be possible? So there are a lot of ways, there are a lot of tools like SSIS packages and Kingsway Soft. So these kind of tools available in the market through which we can easily migrate the data as well from another application to the Dynamics and from Dynamics to another application. Custom external applications. So like I already discussed this in my last slide, that you can create an external applications as well, like .NET, Java, PHP, and can integrate with the Dynamics 365. You can display the data as well. Solutions. Now this is a very important thing, like one where you actually package all these things. Okay, so for example, if you are a developer, you know that you develop everything in the development instance, then you promote the changes to the testing instance where testing team will do all kind of testings. Then you shift the changes to the UAT instance where user acceptance testing will be done. Then finally you move your all the components and code to the production so that the actual audience can use that particular product, right? So there is a proper cycle of moving your customization and configuration from one environment to another environment. So for that purpose we have the solutions. The solution is nothing but the zip file which actually combined all these components that you are creating inside your application. Okay, so this is basically used for the deployment purpose. So if for example, I have three instances, dev, UAT, and the production, and whatever I'm doing or making changes in the dev instance, I have to deploy into the UAT or deploy into the production. So how can I do this, all this coding and all this configuration deployment? So it's a part of solution. So everything that we are creating in the Dynamics is part of solution. You have to combine everything in the solution, then export the solution as a zip file, and you have to import it into the target instance. So by doing this, you can simply move your configuration from one environment to another environment. So these are the some basic features that you have to keep in mind from the developer perspective. There are some other major features are also there, but that is not relevant to you right now, because if you are a new or the beginner in the Dynamics 365, these are the basic things. Now we are coming to the Power Platform. So we discuss about the Dynamics 365, we discuss about the Dynamics 365 features and the basic components of the Dynamics 365. Now we are coming to the Power Platform. So before coming to the Power Platform, I just want to discuss about the business challenges. What are the basic business challenges are there? Okay, so as per the Satya Nadella, the data is the heart of digital transformation, right? It doesn't matter whether you are using any application, .NET, Java, PHP, or any platform. Everything is depend on the data. You are playing with the data day by day, right? You have to send the data from client to server. You have to send the data from server to client. So this is the basic thing that you are doing with the data. So if you are not managing your data properly, then it's a huge loss for your organization. It's a huge loss to the success of the organization. You are not able to manage your customer properly if you are not able to manage your data properly, right? So now what is the problem with the data that the organizations are currently facing? The major problem with the data is the ambiguity, the complexity, and the data is getting stored at the different locations. Okay, now just think about it. he is the customer, okay, and the name of the customer, the basic detail of the customer like first name, last name, email ID, mobile number will remain unchanged, right? But in the organization, they are storing this information in the different databases. Okay, so the customer information is same, but the databases are different. So what is the problem with that? The multiple data sources without any common model, no single point of information. Each system got its own data model. So data model is nothing but the the type of the field that we are using in the database. For example, if I talk about the field first name, okay, so let's say I'm using the first name, and in my organization there are four different databases, and four different databases using four different field name to store my first name. Okay, so this is a very complex situation for me. If I have to design an application, I have to get the data from four different system, and all the four different system are using different field name. So the complexity will get increased and my integration will get complex, right? So this is the problem. The data is not properly being stored in the databases. No secured way to secure a database for internet. So if you are using multiple database, obviously it's going to be very tough to provide the security. No easy way to migrate or follow product evaluation. So for example, if you are managing multiple databases in your organization, then obviously your deployment, your migration of the data, the future release, the upgrade of the system will be very complex for you. So this is the basic business problem with the data. The major problem with the data is not having proper source, not having proper point of information. You have to interact with the different databases. So just see this the image. For example, there is an organization, and this organization basically using different databases to store the different types of information. So for example, one database is basically used to store the marketing data. One database is used to store the payment related or invoice related to the data. One is for the timesheet, one is for the email, phones, communications, and one is for the documents. Okay, so there is a company which is using different databases for the different type of information. Now just think about it. The customers are common, right? But the customer information is scattered or the distributed among different systems. Okay, now being a developer, if I have to design an application, or I have to design a mobile application or the web application, if I have to retrieve the customer data, I have to make the connection with all the databases, right? So this is the basic thing that we have to do if we have to design an application. Now, so this way we have to deal with such kind of situation. If I have to create a web app or the mobile app or the tablet app, or if I have to design a dashboard or the reports, because in order to design the dashboard or reports, you need to have the data at single place. If you don't have the data, you cannot create a dashboard or the reports, right? So what you have to do is you have to integrate your application or the mobile application with the different databases, and your performance of the application will be degraded, and it will not a good practice that you have to integrate with every systems. All right, so this is the problem with the organization nowadays. The data is not managing properly. Now, how Microsoft is actually dealing with this situation? Microsoft come up with this plan that they have provided a single repository called CDS. All right. So CDS is nothing but the central repository, and they are saying to the organization that the information that is being stored in the different database should get synced to a common database. All right. So CDS stands for Common Data Services. That means if you have to design an application, so if the developer wants to design an application or the dashboard, they don't need to integrate with the other application other databases. They only need to make the connection with the CDS, get the data from the CDS, and design the application. And it's the CDS responsibility that it gets synced with the other databases. So this is how Microsoft solved this problem by providing the CDS. Now, if you remember, if you are remembering that particular slide where I have shown you the client, the server, and the web API. So it's happening this only. So this is the client where I'm using the web, the mobile, and this is the server where I'm using the CDS. So CDS is nothing but the SQL database, and this connection is called Web API. So I'm actually in this, in this diagram, I'm actually showing the direct arrow, but you cannot directly interact with CDS. You have to use the Web API in between in order to access the CDS data. All right. But this is the way how Microsoft solving this issue using CDS. Now, so let's understand with this figure how CDS is basically solving this problem. So before moving ahead, I just wanted to tell you, like, currently the common data service is basically replaced with the name Dataverse. So Microsoft has recently changed the name of CDS to Dataverse. Now, before CDS, the architecture was looking like this. The integration was looking like this. Now, after the CDS, the integration is look like this. So you can understand that how simple the design is after introducing of the CDS. Now you will ask me that I discuss about the Dynamic 365. Suddenly I've started discussing about the CDS. Now why I'm discussing about the CDS? What is the significance of CDS in the Dynamic 365? So let's come to the next slide. That is called Power Platform. So CDS is basically the major concept of Power Platform. All right, now what is Power Platform? Power Platform, to understand the Power Platform, you need to ask a question to yourself first, that what is the basic feature you require to design any application. Okay, just forget about the Dynamic 365, forget about the CRM, just just based on your knowledge of .NET or the Java, from whichever background you are from, what are the basic feature you require to design an application. Okay, the first thing is the build the web and the mobile apps, right? So this is the basic need to design any application, that you have to design the UI part. Now this UI may be the web, the mobile, or the tablets. The second is the reporting. Okay, so any organization wants to show the insight of the data, because it's not a good practice that if your organization is dealing with the millions of customer, and if you have to show the progress, the sales performance and everything, you cannot go to individual records, open the record in the database in the Dynamic CRM and can watch the performance. So insights, the dashboards and the reports are the way to show the graphical representation of the data present in your organization. So that is also a very basic feature that required to design an application. The third thing is the logics, right? So web is just to show the UI, the information. The insight is basically used to show the dashboard and the reports. And obviously, if you are using an application, you have to perform some kind of logics. You have to perform automation logic, the integration and everything, right? Like you do in the .NET. So this can be, this is the basic need to design an application. And the last one is the chatbot, right? So chatbot is one of the most used feature nowadays by every organization to minimize the effort to deal with the customers, right? So these are the four basic, actually features that we need to required to design an application. Now Microsoft actually thought about it, that how we can design a platform where we can design these all the four kind of applications. Okay, so Microsoft has actually decided that there should be some tool or there should be some kind of product we should launch that actually can deal with four kind of things. Okay, so to designing build to design the web and the mobile UI, they have designed the Power Apps. Okay, so they have actually introduced a new product called Power Apps that actually used to design a web and a mobile UI. They introduced the tool Power BI that is basically used for designing to create the dashboards and the reportings. Power Automate. So the Power Automate is basically used to perform a complex business logic, automations and all. And the last one is the Power Virtual Agent. So it actually used for chatbot purposes. Now just believe me, all these four tools doesn't require any kind of code, okay, unless you are designing a very complex application. Okay, so for basic application designing, you don't need to write any kind of code, and you can simply use these four components of Power Platform. Now, what is Power Platform? Power Platform is basically combination of these four components. Okay, combinedly all these four components of the dynamic of the Microsoft we are calling as a Power Platform. So this is the definition of Power Platform. That Power Platform is basically a common platform provided by the Microsoft to design a web UI, to show the dashboards, to perform the complex business logic, or to design the chatbots. And these are the four components of it. All right. This is a very high level architecture of the Power Platform. Okay. So the Power Platform is basically using CDS. So I discuss about the CDS. Why? Because Common Data Service is nothing but the SQL database. So just keep in mind this Common Data Service, or the Dataverse, that is the new name of the Common Data Service. Earlier we are calling it as a Common Data Service, but nowadays we are calling as Dataverse. So these are the fancy terms that Microsoft currently is using, but they are nothing. In the background, it's a SQL server only. Okay, so if you have to write a design a Power Apps or the Power BI or the Power Automate, everything is depend on the data, and the data is getting stored in the SQL server or in the Common Data Service. So this is the high level architecture that Microsoft Power Platform is nothing but the combination of four products: Power Apps, Power BI, Power Automate, and the Power Virtual Agents. So this is also an architecture that how it actually looks like. This is the Common Data Service, which is actually connected with these four applications. And there are two other components as well, like data connectors and the AI builder. What is the meaning of data connectors? As I told you, like Dynamics 365 and the Power Platform actually provide you the integrations as well. So for example, in the Common Data Service, if you want to integrate the data from the other applications, there are some connectors are available. All right. So for example, I'm creating a mobile app or the Power App. Okay. In the mobile app, I just want to show the Facebook notifications. I want to show the Twitter tweets. All right. So these kind of things. So in that case, I have to integrate my Power Apps with the Facebook. I have to integrate my Power Apps with the Twitter. So how can I do that? Do I need to write a code to do that? No, you don't need to write a code. We have the 450 plus data connectors available. Okay, 450 data connectors available. You just need to provide your credential in this data connector, and you can just simply integrate with your applications. Same with the Power Automate, same with the Power Virtual Agent, and same with the Power BI. And the last part is the AI Builder part. AI Builder is basically for the pro developers. So if your organization wants to have some kind of artificial intelligence in your Dynamics 365 on the Power Platform, then they can simply use the AI Builder capabilities. Now, I discuss about the Dynamics 365. I discuss about the Power Platform. Few of you might have a question like, what is the relation between this Dynamics 365 and the Power Platform? Okay, so the relation is like that. Power Platform is a very broad picture. Okay, and Dynamics 365 is just a sub component of the Power Platform. Okay, so nowadays the Dynamics 365 is nothing but the Power Apps. Why? Because in the Dynamics 365 we are actually doing the UI part, the logic part, everything we are doing in the Dynamics 365, right? So it's part of UI and the web and the tablet and the mobile, right? So it is a part of Power Apps. So Dynamics 365 is basically a small component of the Power Platform, but Power Platform is basically a broader picture. Now, if someone will come to me, and if they ask me like, what product should I use, whether I should use the Dynamics 365 or whether should I use the Power Platform, the answer is depend on the requirement. So for example, if because Dynamics 365 is a built-in, it's a built-in project, right? So if you want to use that product as is in your organization, you don't want to customize it much, then you can go with the Dynamics 365. But if you want to create your own CRM product from the scratch, right? I don't want to use the Dynamics 365. I want to create my own CRM product, and the designing, the logic, the dashboard, everything I will create from my own. Okay, I have to design everything from the scratch. Then in that case, you choose the Power Platform, because Power Platform lets you give the ability that you don't need to use the existing product or the existing UI available in the market like Dynamics 365. You can create your own application. You can create your own database. You can create your own connector. You can create your own AI building capability and use these four tools to design your application. Now, before moving ahead, I just take a small pause and will ask if anyone is having questions related to this. Then I will move ahead to the Power Apps. Anyone is having any questions?
No question.
All right, thank you. Okay, so let's move ahead. So Power Apps. Power Apps, I told you it's a component of the Power Platform. Now, what is Power Apps? So Power Apps is basically I told you it's actually used to design the UI. So in any application, you need to have the UI of mobile or the tablets or the web. So it actually used to design your UI part. So if you are very new in the Power Platform, you don't know anything about the Power Platform or the Power Apps. If you are a good, if you are good in the PowerPoint and if you are good in the Excel, okay, then you can simply understand the Power Apps concept as well. So if someone asks me like what kind of background do I need to have to understand the Power Apps in order to design an application, because if you have to design an any UI, the first thing comes to our mind that HTML, CSS and the JavaScript, right? So it's not like that. If you have to design a UI like web UI or the mobile UI, you need to have the good understanding of PowerPoint. You need to have the good understanding of the formulas like we are using in the Excel. Okay. So this is a very funny story that how Power Apps born. So the PowerPoint and Excel, they were two, close friends, and they got fall in love with each other, and the Power Apps born. So that means if you have a good knowledge of PowerPoint is nothing but the drag and drop of the controls, right? You can insert the text boxes, you can insert the lot of shapes, objects, or images, everything, right? You don't need to write any code in the PowerPoint, right? In order to design a PPT, you don't need to write any kind of code in the Excel also. You just use the formulas. Same like in the Power Apps, if you have to design a mobile application or the web application or the tablet application, you just need to drag and drop the components like PowerPoint. And if you have to perform any kind of business logic like retrieval, update, delete, hide and show, mandatory, and business required, so these kind of logic you have to perform, you just need to use the Excel kind of formulas. There are basically three kind of Power Apps. The first is Power Apps portals. Second is model driven app. Third one is the Canvas app. Now, what is the significance of all these three kind of apps? The Canvas app is basically used for use to design the mobile application. Model driven app is basically for the web application or the complex business logics, or the Power Apps portal is basically for the external audience. Okay, so there are basically three types of apps are there. In this all the three kinds of apps, only the portal is available for the external users, and rest of all the Canvas, the model driven app, that is only for the internal users. So if you will ask me like can I create a mobile application for the external users, that is possible. You cannot create a mobile app, you can simply create a portal and access that portal in your mobile app. So portal actually support the mobile UI as well. So for external audience, Microsoft has already only provided one option called Power Apps portals. Now what is the significance of portal? So for example, I'm running a business and I want to use the Dynamics 365. Okay, and I want to create a website so that my customer can directly interact with me. They can submit the ticket, they can check the FAQs and everything. So for that purpose, I can create a Power Apps portal. Model driven app basically for the internal users that is accessible by the internal employees of the organization, and Canvas app is also for the internal users, but that is for the mobile purpose. Okay, or maybe you can see the tablet purpose as well. Now, how do I decide which app is fit for my business need? So let's say I have a model driven, I have a Canvas, and I have the portal as well. How do I decide that which one is better for my business? Now, if I talk about the user experience, so from the user experience perspective, model driven app is not that much capable, that it doesn't provide much customization. So if you have to design a very complex UI or you have to change the UI a lot, then you go with the Canvas app, because Canvas app it's like a blank canvas. Okay, so you can design everything from the scratch. But in case of model driven app, you get the 50 to 60% UI provided by the Microsoft, and rest 40% you have to take care of it. You can design as per your need. But 60 to 70% Microsoft already provided you the framework. On top of it, you have to design it. Business situation. Model driven app is basically when you have a complex business requirement, complex business process, very complex security design, then in that case you actually use the model driven app. But you usually use the Canvas app for the simple business situation, because if you have a a very complex integrations in place, very complex business logic, then you don't want user to face the slow performance on their mobile app. So usually we use the Canvas app for some simple kind of business situations, not for the complex business situation. If we talk about the features of the app, model driven app provide more features, but I would say like Canvas app also today provide a lot of features available. So in both the types of apps, we have a lot of features available, but in terms of business situations, we have some less features in the Canvas app. Okay, some components of the model driven app like entities, views, relationships, or the toolbar buttons, the business process flow, business rules. So these are the some features that model driven app provides, but like business process flow we cannot use in the Canvas app. Business rules are nowadays available in the Canvas app, but only server side business rules are available, so you have to write your own logic. So from that perspective, the app features are less in the Canvas app as compared to model driven app. Data validations are equal in both. So if you have to provide any kind of validations in the app, then both the apps provide the same validations. Data sources. Model driven app can only be connected with the CDS. So this is a very important thing to remember, that your data must be stored in the common data service or the SQL in order to use the model driven app. But the Canvas app provide you the 450 plus connectors, right? So it's not like that your data must be in the SQL only in order to use the Canvas app. Your data can be in the SharePoint, your data can be in the OneDrive, your data can be in the Excel, and you can design the Canvas app and on top of it. But in case of model driven app, you need to have the data available in the SQL server. Ease of configurations. Model driven app is very easy to configure because it comes with the 60 to 70% configurations. But Canvas, since you have to design from the scratch, so you may face some complexity to configure the Canvas app. Extensibility wise, both are quite extensible, that you can extend it or scale up the features as per your business needs. So extensibility wise, both apps provide you the same features. Now, how to plan a Power Apps project? So before planning the Power Apps project, actually Power Platform can be used by three kind of audience: business person, IT developers, or the pro developers. All right. So if you are a business person and you are dealing with the client and you actually interact with the client to get their requirements, and you are not a coder and you are not a programmer, but still you have to design an application, then Power Platform provide you the capability that you can create your own app as well. IT developers or the app makers can also, so for if you are a technical person, you have a good knowledge of codings and all, and you are average guy in the coding, so that is also possible. The IT developers can also make an app. But if you are a pro developer, you are a very I can say the stack developers, you have a very good knowledge of artificial intelligence features, the .NET, Java, and everything. Then you can customize the app as per your need as well. You can integrate it with Azure as well. So there are a lot of capabilities it actually provides. It's not like that you have to use this app only for the developers who have the coding experience. Anyone who is not from the coding background can also start creating the apps. All right. So this is kind of things. It's a low code and it's a code first. Okay. So if you are a business person, or if you are a non-developer, if you are not a technical person, if you're a functional guy, then you can simply utilize these features without writing a code. And if you want to enhance the application, if you want to enhance the Power Platform capability, then you can simply use the Azure DevOps. You can simply use the Visual Studio to write your code. So it depends actually. It doesn't, you know, restrict you for anything. You can use the out of box features if you don't like it. If you want to customize it, if you want to extend it, you can extend it anytime. Yeah, so this is for business person. You don't need to the business person who are actually dealing with the client, they don't need to write the code to design an application. App maker might need to write some kind of code, maybe we can say the low code, or the full stack developers who are very much experienced in the coding, they can also write the code. And this is the basic steps before designing any application. Like you have to plan first. Okay, so you need to identify that what application you need to design, who will use that particular application, and when the data will be stored, and why they are using this application. So these kind of things you have to actually ask to yourself before planning the application, before designing the application. So this is the planning phase. Designing is basically the phase where you actually design a draft version of your application, that how your application will look like. You present it to the client that I am going to design such application. Okay, and then finally you actually create the app, the actual development. You test that particular app and deploy it to the production environment for the users. Okay, once user will start accessing that particular application, they will give the feedback. There might be some bugs in that app. You again get that particular app, you again fix that bug, then again the same cycle actually follows. At last, I'm just going to discuss about the a simple case study, or one live exam. One live real-time scenario, so that you can relate that how we can use the Power Platform or the Dynamics 365 component in the real-time scenarios. Let's say there is a Contoso sales organization. Okay, and the Contoso sales organization has a requirement, like they want to design a website for the customer to buy products online. Okay, so like we have already available some online website like Amazon, Snapdeal, Flipkart. So same, like they just want to create a company website so that their customer can buy the products online. Now Contoso wants to build a website for the customer where customer can log into the website by web, mobile, and other various products online, and order various products online. So we understood all the component of the Power Platform. Now by understanding all the component, which component we can use for this particular requirement? So the answer should be the Power Apps portal. So as I told you, Power Apps portal is basically the component that we actually use to design a website, to design a portal, or to design a channel or the UI for the external audience. Here in this requirement, we are talking about to design the UI for customer, right? So Power Apps portal is a particular type of Power Apps which actually used to design the UI for the external audience. Now here, if we will talk about designing the UI for the internal employees, then we will select either Canvas app or the model driven app. But here we are talking about for the customer, those are external audience. So the answer would be the Power Apps portal. The second requirement, design an app for Contoso employees. Now just think about it. In the previous requirement, the UI we have to design for the customer. Now in this, we have to design an app for employees. Now what is the significance of designing an application for the employees? Contoso employee must be able to view the customer information, past orders in the systems, and must be able to find the nearest delivery guy to deliver the order, right? So these kind of things they need to have in their in the application, in the app that going to be used by the employees, the internal employees. Okay, so for this purpose we're going to use the model driven app. Third requirement, design an app for the delivery guy. Just understand this. Once, for example, I'm a customer and I'm opening a website and I'm just making an order for a particular product, the request will go to the particular, employee who is actually dealing with the model driven app. He will see my information, my past order, and will find the nearest delivery guy and will give the my order to the delivery guy. Okay. Now the delivery guy, we have to design an application for the delivery guy. Delivery guy must get the notification to deliver the pickup, the order from the store, and deliver it to the customer location. He must be able to track customer location, call the customer, text the customer, and take the customer feedback signature on successful delivery. So you can understand, right? So in this case, if the delivery guy is going to deliver a product to the customer, he needs to have something on their mobile, right? So for that purpose, the Canvas app is the best fit for that purpose. Manager must track sales progress and performance. Now, there is a requirement like manager must be able to view employee performance, sales progress, revenue, location where product demand is high, and list of all pending approvals for refund request. So in any organization, there is a manager who is actually, who is actually there to track the sales performance, who is actually there for some kind of approvals, and here the requirement is manager want to track the sales progress and the performance, right? So manager cannot see the individual salesperson data that Arpit is doing this, the ABC person is doing this, PQR person is doing this, right? So there might be multiple employees are working. So obviously he might need to have the dashboard or the reporting tool available where he can, simply track the progress and the performance. The fifth requirement is customer can raise a refund request or ask for order status. Now, which component of Power Platform we can use in this requirement? The requirement is customer must be able to raise a complaint, return request for defective product, and claim for refund via website or the chat. So customer get the product and he found that the product is damaged and he wants to return that particular product. Now, what is the channel they can use? So obviously they can simply use the portal and they can simply use the chat option as well. Okay, so for the chatting option, we have the Power Apps portal available. Sorry, for the, for complaint return request, the website will use, so the Power Apps portal will be used. And for the chatting purpose, because nowadays we see like on the all the on all kind of, the website and the portal, we have the option to chat with the customer directly, right? Chat with the bot directly. So for that purpose, customer can simply come to the website and they can chat with the customer as well. So for chatting purpose, we can use the Power Virtual Agent. So in my Power Platform component list, I have shown you the Power Virtual Agent is also a component of the Power Platform, which actually provides you the capability of, chatting features. So in this, the answer will be Power Apps Portal and the Power Virtual Agent. And the last one, the finance manager must get the notification if refund request is more than 1 lakh. So for example, I got the, defective product and I want to return it back. But but in the organization, someone wants to get it approved, right, before initiate the refund to my account. So finance manager must get the notification of the approval, and refund amount must only get processed if the request is approved. So this is kind of a logic, right? This is kind of approval we are requiring. This is kind of notification we have to send. So in the Power Apps component, there is a component called Power Automate that I told you earlier, that Power Automate is basically used to perform the business logic, the approvals, the notifications and all, right? So for notification and for kind of approvals, for business logic, so we have the option called Power Automate. So this was a very small case study through which you can simply relate it, that how in the real world applications, we actually fit these all the Power Platform components. So that's it for today. I actually try to cover the fundamentals of Dynamics 365 Power Platform. So maybe in the future, if you are more interested to know the demonstration of the real-time application, like how the Power Virtual Agent works, how we can create the Power Virtual Agent, how Power Apps can be designed, how mobile apps can be designed, how customer portals can be designed, the Power Apps portals. So for these kind of sessions, I would like you to drop me an email if you want to have this session further in the future. And these are my some social media channel through which you can connect me. After this session, I'm going to upload the recording as well on my YouTube channel. So please go and subscribe to my YouTube channel so you can get some other future recordings as well. Thank you so much. Any other questions if you have, you can just simply ask me. Thanks a lot.
Yes, Arpit, actually, can you take a session on Power BI in future?
Sure. So I'll keep this in a mind, and we'll try to cover the Power Apps, Power BI, and the Power Virtual individual session as well.
Okay, fine.
Yeah. Any other questions anyone is having?
No. Actually, Arpit, this